Our guest for today is Dara V. Rose. Dara is an author, speaker, Bible study teacher, and founder of 12 Cups of Grace. Through her writing and conversations, she helps women navigate grief, faith, healing, identity, and finding their voice after difficult seasons. Her upcoming memoir, Born for This Name, shares her journey through family loss, stillbirth, motherhood, faith, and the process of becoming who God created her to be. Tara is passionate about making scripture approachable and creating honest spaces where people can heal without pretending. Dara, welcome to the show. All right, so I have some questions here for you, and I would like us to get into them. Okay, so tell us, how do you keep your faith when life brings losses you never expected?
Question. Well, I feel like there are two ways to answer that. So, one, you have to, I believe you should have faith already intact before life happens and circumstances happen. And that way you can know where to turn to. You can remember where to turn to. But if you don't have faith at the time that life is throwing you curveballs and, you know, storms, then you need to find faith. You need to find someone with faith to help you along life's journeys. A lot of times we don't know where to go, but we do know when we find a safe space with people, people often connect us to faith.
What does healing look like when grief doesn't go away as quickly as we did hope?
Well, you know what? When it doesn't go the way that we hope, because we all, if we can be honest, we all have dealt with grief in some shape, form, or fashion. We have dealt with grief of a family member, grief of a loved one, a loss of a loved one, grief of persons, places, or even things. And when it doesn't go as we think it should go, or it doesn't complete in the time cycle that we think, I think we should give ourselves grace. We should give ourselves grace to understand that we're human and that we're walking through this life and that we're understanding the different obstacles that the day may bring. But we need to give ourselves grace. We need to also give others grace and how they approach us, because a lot of times people don't know that we are grieving when they are approaching us. So my biggest thing would be to say, give yourself grace when grieving about life's losses. Give yourself grace so you can be able to process. And there's no expiration date till when you should be finished processing whatever it is we're grieving or whatever it is we're losing. We're changing and we're growing every single day.
Thank you so much. So, how did losing your brother, experiencing stillbirth, and later losing your mother shape your relationship with God?
Oh, well, and those were two very different deaths. My brother happened when I was just 9 years old. And it really made me think, who is God that he would take away my brother from me at such a young age? And he was only 12 and I was 9. So it made me think, who is this God? I want to know more about him. So it really challenged my face. I just had an explosion of questions and how this all worked together, because I was a preacher's kid. I am a preacher's kid. And so because of that, we were in church all the time. And so because we were in church all the time, we felt that we were protected from certain things. We felt that we were covered from certain things, especially from death. And so not understanding that even Christians are not protected from death physically, that everyone has to walk through it. It was difficult as a child because I just didn't think, one, that my family deserved it, because honestly, that's what a lot of people say. No, I don't deserve death, or my family doesn't deserve death, or my loved one doesn't deserve death. Death is not a punishment. That's first of all. But it shaped me in a way where I was curious about who this God was that took the life from my brother. So that was a 9-year-old's conception of life. And as I became older and about 28, when my mom died, I understood death in a totally different light. I understood it to be something that is a continuation of life. It is not the end. It is not a sorrowful death. It is the continuation. She was very sick at the end of her death. So because of her sickness, the adult and the maturity in me did not want her to suffer any longer. So I understood that death and I took it way differently than I did my brother's death. It was about 20 years apart. And because of that, I was able to understand. By then, I had a relationship with God. I knew and I understood Him to my capacity at that time. And it was a totally different feeling. I didn't mourn like I mourned for my brother. My brother, that loss was so detrimental and shocking. My mom's was, we knew it was coming. She had time to prepare. It was a slow and gradual thing. So it was totally different than my brother's. But nevertheless, God was with me in both of those deaths, in both of those losses. But it's crazy to see just the dynamic that happened from when my brother died to when my mother died.
Okay. How can women set healthy boundaries while still loving their families well?
How can they keep boundaries?
Yes.
Um, I would say they can keep boundaries by using the word no. I always love to tell young women that I'm talking to, no is a complete sentence. No is, it's a stop. It's a full stop. It's not a pause. It's not a comma, but it's a full stop. But with no, there are consequences. With no, you have to understand that with your no, other people may tell you no as well. And you have to be prepared and you have to be ready and you have to be responsible enough to handle their no. People are willing to sometimes dish the no out, but they're not willing to take the no when they need something. So you have to understand boundaries have to be set in place because everybody's life is their own once they become of a certain age. But you have to understand and respect the other person's no, especially when they're giving it back to you. So using the word no, setting boundaries, making sure that you are understanding what you're saying no to and what you're even saying yes to, because you can't say yes to both things. You can't say no to both things. There has to be, when you say a no to one thing, you're saying a yes to something else and vice versa.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dara. So, what helped you transform your pain into purpose?
Ah, the Bible has helped me transform my pain into purpose. Reading the Bible for large amounts of hours on a daily basis and I know that I understand that every person does not have large amounts of hours to read their Bible. But I was in a season where I stayed at home with my children and I had an abundance of free time when I dropped them off at school. And in that free time, I chose to just dive into the word. And not only dive into the word to create a prayer life, to listen to God as He spoke to me. I was able to read books. I was able to take some time and go to counseling and therapy. So that's what allowed me to transform my pain into purpose. And finding out that I still had a purpose, that was mind blowing to me. I thought my purpose had been thrown away with the abuse that I had endured. So I didn't know that purpose even existed for me. So to find out that purpose was still there and that it still existed, it blew my mind. And I was very, very happy to know that God had placed me here for a purpose and that the pain that I had went through did not delete or erase my purpose in life. So I was very grateful to find out and understand not only that I have a purpose, but everyone on this planet and everything that God created has a purpose.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dara. That was a wonderful answer, I must say. So, tell us what inspired you to write Born for this name, and tell us what you hope readers will take away from this book.
Okay. So I'll start with the first one. So what inspired me to write the name? The name is Born for this name. Because I'm one of 11. And most people in my family have three names, which is kind of typical. You have your first name, your middle name, and your last name. But because I was the 11th child, the last one, my mom, wanted to name me. She did not name any other child, but she named me. And that I had four names. And because I had four names, I was, I guess you could say, more special than everybody else that had three names. And my name was inspired by a couple of different things. My mom named me my first name. I was named by a family friend for my middle name. And my second middle name is the holiday that I was born on. And my last name is from my husband. And so my first and my last name, usually people hear that, Dara Rose, they're like, oh, that's such a beautiful name. That's such a beautiful name. So that was one of the reasons why. But the second reason why is that our name is truly our identity. Our name is what we believe is connected to us. That's the only name that we've known all of our lives. It tells us who we are. It tells history. It tells stories. It tells a lot of things about us. And so if we can get to the name of who we are, how that connects to our world, and what name God calls us, it helps us to shape and form our life into a way that we can understand it, and that we can take some truth and hold some truth, pull the identity that God has already placed and written for us in his word. It allows us to connect with that. So we not only have the name that our parents gave us or that our loved ones gave us, we have the name that God gave us. And that's a name that is above our earthly name, because God's name and his identity is higher than our parents. It's higher than whoever named us. His name of calling us a child of God, it connects to our identity, and that is our true name.
Okay, thank you so much, Dara. So, how can someone study the Bible when they feel distant or disconnected from God?
Ah, so that's it's a tricky question, but not a tricky question. So how you start to study the Bible, especially if we're talking about in the US or anything like that, I would start very slow. The whole purpose of the Bible is to understand why it was written, what it was written, and who it was written for. The Bible is a massive text of 66 books. Much of is the Old Testament. More than half is the Old Testament. Even in the New Testament, it refers back to the Old Testament. So I would take my time. I would not ever suggest rushing through the Bible, especially if it's your first time, because there are so many things that you can miss if you just read it quickly. The purpose is to understand from Adam to Jesus and Jesus to God and everything that's connected in between, but also it's to connect to us. You have to slow down slow enough to read the Bible so it can connect to you. It's not about rushing. It's not about who's first. This is about connecting to the word. We never retire our Christianity. We never retire our faith. And so because we never retire our faith, we should take time to continue to read, to continue to study, and to continue to learn the word of God, because it's fascinating. And every time we read the word, we get more knowledge, we get more revelation, we get more insight that we can use for our life, that we can share with others, and that we can just apply to a lot of situations and circumstances in our lives. And God can open up the word to us in so many different ways. So we want to go slow when we read the Bible. I would suggest reading one chapter at a time. So one chapter a day, one chapter a week, one chapter a month. But I would suggest going slow.
Okay, Dara, thank you so much. I believe people who are listening right now that feel disconnected or distant from God can still find a way to study their Bible and know what God wants from them. So, what would you say to someone who is carrying grief quietly and feels completely alone?
What I would say to someone who is carrying grief quietly and feels completely alone. Two things, two important things. One thing, I would just tell them to have a conversation with God, because God is always with us, whether you know him or not, whether you believe him or not. He is always with his creation. And because he is always with his creation, we always have an opportunity and an open invitation to come to him. And I think that's the beautiful thing about God, that he never closes the door to us. He never leaves us alone, even though we may feel alone, because sometimes we're alone physically, but sometimes we're alone spiritually. Sometimes we can feel alone emotionally, but we're never actually alone. And the second thing I would say is to look around to the people that love you and that care about you, and be open to sharing the truth with them about how you're feeling and the place that you're in. And I would actually add a third one in there, which may kind of piggyback off the second one, is seek out support groups. There is Grief Share and grief counseling that are connected to a lot of local churches, so you don't feel like you are alone. We never want to walk through this life and miss the help that we are either meant to give or meant to receive. So I would ask that person to look up and look around, to see who is there, who has God placed around you to help you. Who has God placed in your path, whether it's at work, whether it's at school, whether it's in your neighborhood, whether it's in your local church. Who has God placed around you that you can get to, that you can access, so you can get to the help that you need?
Okay. So talking about your book, is there something in your book that you feel that readers might miss, that it was never your intention for them to mix it? Something like maybe a hidden secret in your book.
Ah, I don't know that it's a hidden secret in the book. I feel as though that um people can, I honestly feel like when I was writing the chapter about forgiveness, the hidden secret that many people miss is the human attainment for forgiveness. And our forgiveness should always be aligned with what God says. We shouldn't try to achieve this human perfection of forgiveness. This is about how God is looking at your heart, how God is judging you. This is not about how man is judging us, because so many times, because we're looking at the outward appearance, we miss it. Whereas our heart needs to be aligned with God so that we never miss it. And so I feel like that's hidden, because most people feel like forgiveness is something that they can pinpoint, something that they know about. But the layers, forgiveness is so much in layers that you don't understand, you don't know about the different things, and the different layers of forgiveness. So if anything that is hidden, it's definitely the hidden layers of forgiveness that's probably hidden in the book.
All right, Dara, thank you. So, can you hear me? So, here is my final question for you. Is there one question you wish I would have asked you that I did not ask you?
Um, well, I'll say this. There is one question that I did not answer, because it was a two-part question. You asked the three things that people should get from my book, and I failed to answer that. If I can answer that, then I can answer the question about what another question. Would that be okay?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. So, three things that I think people should get from this book would be identity, forgiveness, and hope. And I spoke on forgiveness in the last question, but identity is it's based on who God says I am, and hope is the future. It is about our journey going forward. And those three things are the three things that I think people should receive when they read the book: identity, forgiveness, and hope.
Okay. Is there a question I wish I would have asked you? Now, that's not to the next question.
Sure. I think the question would be, let's see, um, was I nervous about any of my family members reading the book?
And what will your answer be?
My answer would be, of course, because any memoir requires vulnerability. But my goal was never to write a book about other people. My goal was just to tell my story honestly, while treating the people involved with dignity and respect. So, yeah.
All right, Dara, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your heart, your story, and your unwavering faith. The journey is a reminder that even in our deepest pain, God is still writing a beautiful story of hope and redemption. So, if you would like to learn more about Dara and our upcoming memoir, Born for This Name, be sure to check out our links in our show notes. But I will allow her to tell us where the audience can check our books out and know more about our work. Over to you, Dara. So, over to you, Dara. How can the audience connect with you and learn more about your work?
Race, the number 12, 1, 2, race, social media, 12, race, 10.
Okay, thank you so much, Dara. And thanks to all my listeners for tuning in today on this special episode with Dara Rose. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Okay, have a wonderful day.